talk about the things that I remember. I remember when we were really little, and being the big brother, of course, he had to pick on me, so he liked knocking me over. And I remember when we were little, we went to Disneyland, and he and my mom were in one of those little gondolas, and my dad and I were in the other one, and he was making it swing and driving my mom crazy. And he was almost 6 years old, so. I remember going on vacations, driving vacations, and we would, stay in hotels together, and we were glad when we, if it had a swimming pool. I remember when, in the summertime, when we were little, my mom would play games with us, Monopoly. We would play for hours. And then when we got a little bit older, we ended up being actually quite a bit different people. But he was a very social person, and I'm not. But we still got along pretty well, and certainly I remember when we were young adults, and my parents went on vacation together, and we were at the house by ourselves, and we managed to break the drain pipe of the bathroom sink. And we thought, oh yeah, Dad's gonna kill us. We gotta do something. And of course, we're young. We didn't have money. We didn't even know how much a plumber cost. But right across the street from us was a plumber. And so I went over there and asked him if he could fix it, and all he would do was laugh. He thought it was hilarious that these two kids that were at home by themselves managed to break the pipe. Anyway, so he came and fixed it. Didn't charge us. And then as we got older and we no longer lived together, and when my mom got sick, even though we were really different people, trying to figure out what to do with somebody with dementia, we were always seemed to be on the same page, which was so much easier than if we hadn't been. But when my mom died, even though she had had dementia for 5 years, and it seemed much longer than that, it was still a shock to have her die when she did. She managed to die on her birthday. So what I had told people was that I really wanted to know a week in advance, in writing, when someone's going to die. Because I really think you need to prepare for it. And certainly this time, I had the same feeling. And I know that a lot of you were also quite shocked, because I've had people contact me. Anyway, I think that's it.
The story you're about to hear is true. I'm Phil McIntosh and John's cousin. He was my brother. I was his. You're going to hear your proud day. I just love John. We all did. When my parents passed away when I was in high school, John was working in the community, and he had to drive a repair truck around the city and fix buses. he'd come by our house, park the bus out in front, and his repair truck out in front. And I'd go out and shoot the breeze with him. And we never ever stopped. He was just absolutely, I don't know who adopted who first, but from the time he retired, I would talk or text with him every single day. So I'm probably the only person in here who knows how to both run a bar and a police department. But, John and I, we would just have long conversations about nothing. I knew nothing about the Giants. I knew nothing about cars. John knew everything about us. It was a great symbiotic relationship. I loved to hear him laugh. We all did. I'd call him up. I'd just tell him about my day. He'd find something to laugh about, which would make me laugh, and louder rinse and repeat. We did it every single day until he died. I was interested in law enforcement. John and I both had police scanners. It was kind of cool at the time. One Saturday, John picked me up and he said, "Here, we're going up to Berkeley." He was taking the physical for the UC Berkeley Police. We've all seen the physicals. Run a couple hundred yards, jump over an imaginary fence, pull a dummy 25 feet. No problem. I've done it, everyone's done it. Not the Berkeley Police. After they did all that, they said, "Okay, we're going to have you come here. Now run up to the top of the stadium at Memorial Stadium. Come back down, go a couple more sections, and then go up to the top again and come back down." I didn't think he was going to last that day. I was absolutely sure, though, when I left, that he was going to be a really good police officer. Because if he could stick through this, he was going to be able to stick through whatever the city put that to him. Another time he picked me up, he actually took me downtown. He said, "You're going to take the police exam. And if your hair is my color, or if you have no hair, you may have taken the same exam." But they have a bunch of vignettes, and they showed this one guy who was calling in headquarters. He picked up this walkie-talkie that was the size of a loaf of bread. And he's going, "To Judy, to headquarters." The only thing I remember about the whole test. Get back into the car, John goes, "Well, wait, what'd you think? You think you want to be a police officer?" He goes, "What'd you walk away with?" I walked away with the fact that there's no unit 2GD2. So from then until the day he retired, I never called him John, I never called him Milt, I just called him 2GD2, and that joke lasted. He was extremely generous. If you had kids, or if you had grandkids, he was Santa 365. He was always sending stuff in the mail. He was always telling me about all the people who had kids. He would always tell me, he goes, "My secret is," he goes, "when they get to be about 2.5, that's when I send the drum set over." He goes, because they can hear the drums, but they're not, in tune enough to basically, listen to the parents to stop. And I have no evidence of this, but I'm convinced that of all the hundreds of drum sets he set out, that they've all been returned, which is why Toys R Us is in bankruptcy. But yeah, if you try to grab a check, no way, you're dead. You'd lose a finger, lose a hand. I think one of John's first assignments, what am I talking about, was at the airport doing traffic control. And we've all been there. On a good day, it's hell on earth. So my brother Tim and I would drive down. We got an old automatic or a manual shift car. We go there, we find John. I'd look back there, I'd see him, he'd smile, go, "What the hell?" And he'd come up. I'd roll the window down, and he'd look in, and I'd go, "Excuse me, officer, can you give me directions to that Fisherman's Wharf?" And he'd put his whistle in, lean in the car, and blow. And I think he said something along the line of, "Move along." Would step behind the car, waited for me to take off. So, you can't let the easy things go easy. So I pull the car up about 1.5 feet, so I was blocking 2 lanes, turn the engine off, hit the gas about 12 times so that it wouldn't start, and then sit there trying to start the car while John's got 50 or 60 people behind him honking their horns. He has no course. I probably left 15 stories that I could tell that I'm not going to because it'd be here till Christmas. I love him every day, miss him. But I'm humbled that I could co-pilot his wonderful life. Thank you.
Tough to follow those two. My name is Matt Mason. I was partners with John in the late 90s at the airport, and we developed a friendship that could be described as a salty vet, 2-year new policeman who thought he knew what he was doing. He was going to get checked by a big milt JP, an older brother, an uncle, and a friend. And I couldn't be more honored to speak today. A lot of people know me here. I don't usually get too emotional, and this has been very emotional for me. I'll start off with a couple fun stories and then get to the emotional part. So, my first day working with John Poelstra. I worked in the narcotics task force at San Francisco Airport. At that time, the airport police, San Francisco police were 2 different departments. And I had about 2 years in the business. I was 25, thick black curly hair. Thought I was living some movie, looking for drug smugglers, and couldn't find a dead soldier in the Presidio. So SFPD always sent someone down to the airport because there's a lot of money seizures and bigger narcotic seizures, which I knew nothing about. So I really wanted a partner, and I heard that John Poelstra was going to come work with me. And he had worked in San Francisco for years, as had everyone here. He was from narcotics, which every young police officer wants to go to one day and do street enforcement. He worked for my uncle in the Patrol Bureau Task Force, so I knew I wouldn't be able to screw around because he would be a direct report to my uncle who would be all over me. And then I would get back to my mom who was all over my uncle. So Poelstra had me kind of checkmate. So he shows up the first day wearing his best Ben Davis pants, right? They weren't the dress bends with the electric tape down the side, but they were close. And, I've seen a lot of undercover guys in my career. They blend in. I think John wanted to blend in at the airport. So he didn't wear the SFPD. He wore the Bens, but he didn't wear the boots the guys would wear, the Air Jordans. He showed up like a pair of topsiders, right? And thought people travel with a nicer shoe. I guess that was his attempt at being undercover. So he shows up at the office first day. He's kind of sniffing around. He's a big dude. I thought I was a big dude, but he was definitely asserting senior officer, junior officer time, and he wanted to know what we did. And what we did was we'd walk and try to profile people carrying narcotics to the airport. And it was a thankless job because you watch all these people off the plane, they're all in a great mood. We were sitting there at work, or they were going to get a drink and go out. So after he informed me how he was Mr. Narcotics and Mr. PETF, I needed to come up with an alternate plan. So I looked at his shoes, and I walked him from one end of the airport to the other for 8 hours. Right? And I just kept going, man, that's a lot of walking, right? That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do, right? So the big man, he didn't like walking too much, as we know, right? He may have done that at Berkeley, right? And those topsiders, those may have been hip like Rico and Tubbs, Miami Vice days, but they weren't too good at the airport, right? We get done with our first day, he comes back the next, and his dogs are barking. And he's bitching about it, excuse my language. And then I go, oh, really? Oh, and he caught on. And I got it. And that was the last time I got it, right there. It was tough to get John Poelstra, like we all know. He had the dirt on everybody. He liked the backstory, so I got him real good. His feet hurt for about a week, right? And so our partnership starts. And he taught me how to talk to everyone, right? Crooks, people, other cops, that can be sometimes the hardest to talk to, people in command, right? And how to not judge people, right? The book by the cover, right? You look at John Poelstra, the book didn't match the cover, right? And I consider that a compliment. And he really taught me that. And this is how he taught me that. For 4 years, these people come off these flights, we go to buses, trains, and you gotta imagine this job, right? Like Kevin and Alex here had narcotics dog. These dogs would alert on bags and things. And a lot of these people, these smugglers you see, they look like regular people, not criminals. So John didn't like talking to regular people. So one day, after about 2 years into me doing everything, like all the contacts and everyone getting pissed at me and yelling at me, and he would just sit there and laugh, right? It's like a parading. Like, hey man, how about you doing one of those things for a change? You go talking to people, you're a smart guy, you know, social guy. He goes, nah, I don't like talking to people who are guilty. Right? I think the police understand that, right? It's a lot easier, and he just sent me on my way, and that was senior officers, junior officers. There was no debating that, right? So I did that, and it actually was great. You know what? We're all young once in life and need to be checked and humbled, and he did that to me, and it was great, and we had a great friendship. So our friendship continued after work, you know, after sitting watching people flying for 8 hours, and you know, realizing that we didn't arrest anyone. We'd go, hey, we introduced these 2 new places in San Francisco, iconic places called Schooners and the Bonanza, 2 bars that I see a lot of people nodding their head right now. So we'd go there, and then we were joined oftentimes, and I know this is a surprise to many, by Sergeant Joe McKenna, who's in Palm Springs right now. He couldn't be here today, I talked to him. So we had great times at Schooners and there, and I always wondered, like, man, how would Joey, like, how does he have a wife and kids? I was single at the time, John was single. How's Joey doing all this? And then I found out later, and this is with approval of Joey, that John, he told John, hey, if you ever meet my wife, we weren't at the bar, I was with you the whole time. And John, of course, agreed. So for like probably a decade, Joey's poor wife thought he was with John the whole time, and we were actually at Schooners. And we'd been there with a maritime bar with a ship wheel, and John would drive the wheel, and so would Joey, and they'd score it. I see the people laughing as they've been there seeing McKenna's act there. So that was great. Those were just great times. And to get back to the police work, John was a good cop. And for people not in the law enforcement world, that's like the highest praise I think you can give anyone. And people I've talked to, a lot of people in this room since he passed, that's really one thing everyone said, that he was a good cop. He did his job, and I think what made him a good cop that other people can't do is he made other people better. He made me better, he made other people around him. He wasn't always the face and the point of investigations, but he really did a lot. And those things, kind of the unsung hero, that was John, right? And when he wasn't talking smack or, you know, like he liked to do to everyone, he got that all done, and he really did a great job at that. An example of that is he went back to the burglary as a 960. It's a part-time worker when you retire for people not in the law enforcement world. And obviously we've seen all over the paper about organized retail theft. So I know a bunch of people burglary. And they were, no, man, who's this guy Poelstra? They didn't know we were good partners. I got other partners, and I know the guy's great. Got a photographic memory. A real inspector. And they go, you're not kidding me. He's made so many cases because we're having some staffing shortage, they couldn't keep up. They couldn't arrest all the crooks because John had put it together. And that's really what he wanted to do in retirement. It wasn't about the money for him. He could care less about that. He really wanted to make a difference like that, and he enjoyed doing that in the investigative part. And I think that's a great story about him. A few weeks before he passed, I gave him a ride to a doctor's appointment, and brutal ride, man. He told me that he wasn't used to everyone texting him and looking out for him. And he'd always been the guy to do that. And it meant a lot to him that people did that. Richie Dalton, I'm sure you're here, man, you were a rock for him, man. I can't tell you how much he talked about you. Everyone who texted him, he couldn't believe it was that outpouring of support. It's a 15-minute ride with a friend. I'll never forget that. And I'm grateful for that time with him because we don't often get that time with people. I'll just finish it up. JP, you were a difference maker in me and everyone around you. Love you, brother. Rest in peace, my friend.